Boom. All right. Didn't think I would need to make this. Really, I really did not think I would need to make this. But you lot, for some reason, can't read. So I'm gonna need to show you lot the best skill trees possible for hopefully most or even actually all units to come. If you follow these basic steps of what skill tree you should make, you should be fine. Unless the skill tree system gets reworked and this video becomes invalid, this should stay until that point. So first things first, we gotta ask the question, what kind of optimal skill trees are there? So there are 4 skill trees. At least the 4 optimal ones that we believe exist. As you can see here, the first one on the left is damage slash Yay. This is the most common skill tree you would probably use that works on 90% of the units and is pretty much used on almost any trait, except for some exceptions. But that's later on. And then next is damage slash crit. This skill tree, the second one here, is a lot more niche skill tree. It's a very niche one. Like you don't always use it. Like it's one of them. It's one of those skill trees that, like you use them sometimes when you feel like you need to, right? And it's a very certain situation to when you actually want to use this skill tree, and I'll explain to when you want to use it later. And then another one would be range slash crit, aka the support skill tree. This one focuses on you to have as much range as possible, so that your support units have as much time to give that kind of status effect to support. Or I guess on units that have like time stop abilities that are only within their range, like Jotaro OH, it also helps enlarges the area to what units get affected. And then there's also the final one, which is crit slash range. Now, do not get them confused. You do not want to confuse between the range slash crit and the crit slash range. If you get them confused, you will screw yourself over by a lot because you're losing a lot of DPS from going the wrong skill tree. Now, so before you like, okay, I know the skill trees now, and then you may be asking, what about the middle pack? What about the? Let me remove this. What about the middle one, the matchup master one? What about this one? Well, this one kind of sucks. To be perfectly honest, because I mean, sure, it has some uses, but in more cases than not, because also of the fact that they nerf the DOT damage, it's like the actual DOT's damage, they nerf on how much they do. It's kind of like not great at all. Then again, it could just be us have not tested it since it has been like that since like the beginnings of time. So yeah, never go middle skill tree. If you do, you're trolling. All right, so back to the skill trees. Now, what questions you need to ask before like you pick your skill tree and stick with it? Obviously, you can get some reset skill trees, but as a beginner, you probably don't have that much money or have any of them at all. So you just gotta hope for the best one possible. Now, there are a few questions you gotta ask yourself. First, does my unit do DOT or have DOT? Now, you may ask again, what is DOT? For those who play a lot of gacha games or turn-based games, may know the term of DOT, aka meaning damage over time. Now, these kind of effects or attacks means that they hit enemy once, and then that effect will hit them over and over for a long period of time, or at least for some period of time, right? So without your unit attacking more, the enemy will take damage for like a few seconds. Now what counts as DOT? Boom. I'm borrowing this from I think it was Keiki, or was it from someone else? Because there's so many people who make these things, but I've completely forgotten who's made these. Like let me quickly scroll around. I think it's Keiki. Really don't know. I'm getting very confused on who makes these now. But yeah, this one. this is a list of status effects. You can find this, I think you can find this in the pinned messages in the questions channel or in my spreadsheet in general info. Now, if you can read here, you can read saying which one does actual damage. Now, if you read it and it says it doesn't actually do any damage, then that's not DOT. DOT has the word damage in it. So if you see a symbol here and it says, oh, it does this much damage over this long, and damage is this much times of the actual blah 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 blah. Like example, I guess, is bleed, or I guess we'll take dismantle because that's the most common. Deals 2.275 times of the unit's damage. As you can see, that specifically clarifies that it does damage. Now that is a DOT effect. While the one next to it says slow, reduces enemy speed. It does not do damage. That is not a DOT effect. Okay? Now, the other thing you gotta make sure you gotta ask is, does my unit have DOT specifically at its final upgrade? Or even just throughout the entire thing? If they do, you will always go for damage/SPA. You can end that there. No need to ask any more questions. Just go damage/SPA for any and all DOT units. Now, obviously, there are some exceptions. Like if you read here, some things, some effects can only be reapplied after like a certain period of time. Like dismantle can be reapplied after like 6 seconds. Bleeds every 6, I think, as well. Poison or conquer is every 6 seconds as well. Yada yada yada. You have to make sure that when you build your skill tree, when your unit is max level, it has an SPA just above that time that it says. If you have a dismantle unit and then it has like a later at max SPA of 5.8 SPA. I mean, sure, it is a faster attacking unit, but then the rotation of dismantle is broken. You will instead have dismantle every 2 attacks instead of every attack. So when you build your skill tree, follow the normal damage plus SPA's line. This is the best line you could follow. But the time when you move and you actually like swap around a little bit, like, oh, I take this one instead, so I have less SP, so I have a longer SPA time, more range or whatever. Like you just if you and for any DOT unit, what you have to make sure is that the time that it attacks is about the time that the DOT takes to reapply. If the DOT takes 3 seconds to reapply, make sure your attack pattern is like a multiplication of 3. Like 3 times 1, 3 times 2, yada yada yada. Or at least as close to it as possible. So you don't waste too much time having no DOT on the enemy. Now the next question. So I guess if you answer question 1 saying no, it has no DOT. It has either one of the other status effects that does 0 damage, or it has no status effects at all. All right. So now you gotta ask the question: does my unit have Overlord, Avatar, or Glitch? Now I guess I'll quickly move over to show you a lot. Sorry for all the stuff on the screen. Index. If it has if it has any of the last bottom 3 traits, right? If it has any of the last bottom 3 traits, you will always go crit/range on the last upgrade, on the most right skill tree. If your unit does not have DOT, so like it doesn't have burn, it doesn't have bleed, it doesn't have any kind of damaging status effect, and it has Overlord, Avatar, or Glitch, you go crit/range skill tree. Now, the reason to this, I'll quickly shove this over a little bit more. This is an example that King made, I think, quite a while ago. This is an example of Saitama Evo. As you can see, its DPS is obviously something, right? Like as you can see, it's quite the difference, right? But it's not too big of a difference. Like aside from glitch, but even then, but glitch is different because actually in glitch you kind of just want to go crit anyway because he does crit chance. But yeah, as you can see, the DPS is like marginally different, like maybe like 10k at most of the difference, more or less, right? And the other thing is that the crit slash range gives you 30% extra range. So you people who complain like why people saying why not go damage slash SPA? I have Sid Overlord or I have Saitama Evo Overlord. Why would I go crit? I should go damage to do more damage. Like I mean you can, but yeah, I mean it probably could have for Saitama really because he has his new. But I disagree in general because most non-DOT units with Overlord, Avatar, or Glitch would probably prefer having crit slash range because of the extra range it gives. Because you have pretty much the same DPS, pretty much, and you just get more range with crit slash range. So why not? I mean, sure, it does end up being a chance to deal more damage because that's the whole point. It's crit, right? Crit slash range does make it less consistent, while damage at SP is much more consistent damage because okay, you know, I at least will do this much damage, and maybe the occasional crit happens. But yeah, that is a general skill tree list. Now, I did tell you that SPA, that damage as crit, is a specific skill tree as well, like a specific trait that you need. If you answer number one, does my unit have DOT? No. And then you ask the second one, does my unit have DOT? I mean, have Overlord, Avatar, or Glitch? No. I forgot to write it down, but you gotta ask again. Does my unit have All Seeing? For you see, All Seeing does this, right? Like it's alright. It's pretty good stuff. But the reason to why I say specifically, if you answer these two questions, no, and it does have All Seeing, you would, I think, at least statistically, better to go to second skill tree, damage slash crit. All right, because damage slash crit will enable you to do a lot more crit damage because you have more crit percentage in the end, right? Even though yeah, you do lose on SPA, but what about it? Like you already have a pretty good crit chance, so unless you really need the SPA, just go crit. Like it's usually better because then you have better crit percentages, which means when you do crit, you do more damage. Now, if you answer all those questions no, you go back to damage slash SPA. That is the most common, like I said, the most common build you would go. If you had any other trait than Overlord, Avatar, or Glitch on a non-DOT unit, you pretty much just, if you have like Entra, Shinigami, Demi, Cosmic, Vulture, Juggernaut, Hyperspeed, if you have any of those on a non-DOT unit, you just go damage SPA. It's the best option you've got, and that's all you gotta really do. So, I mean, this video could be very boring for you to watch, but that's about it, really, about skill trees. You can rewatch these things if you really want to, or just check, I don't know, check the spreadsheet, or just, yeah, I guess, I mean, you guys probably will, because you guys don't read. Just asking any question, yeah, it's so much more work. But oh well. But I guess for a quick summary, at the end of this video, you gotta make sure you ask these questions on top right of your screen. Does my unit have DOT? No. I guess first things first. I guess, does your unit have DOT? Yes. Go damage slash SPA or adjust accordingly to make sure their SPA fits within their DOT. If you answer no to the unit not having DOT, so that means the unit is either pure or having like just a non-damaging status effect. Ask again. Does it have Overlord, Avatar, or Glitch? If the answer is yes, you go crit slash range. If the answer is no, just go damage slash SPA. But if you want to add a little bit more, just I guess technically optimal, if you somehow have all seeing on a pure damage unit, or non-damaging status effect unit, go damage slash crit instead. So that's the end of this thing, this short video, and good luck to you all. Now, please stop asking. Please, like, actually learn stuff, man. Read things, all right? Well, see you now, everybody. Bye-bye.